That is true about that one. Let's go to our first hot topic. And by the way, I was going to wear this whether Villanova won or lost, by the way.
Yeah.
Why do Bill Self's teams seem to struggle in the NCAAs? Is it true or false? Cody, you're up first.
Well, you look at a team that has 8 Sweet 16 appearances, 6 appearances in the Elite Eight, but 2 and 4 in the Elite Eight. When you look at him against other national competitors, the teams he's going to get matched up against, like Coach K, Tom Izzo, he doesn't match up. There are 8 coaches that have more Final Fours than him in his time at Kansas since 2003. So if you're looking at him as a top 5 coach at a top 5 program, he's performing just outside of that, essentially, in my mind, as a top 10 coach. And if he's got to do better in the Elite Eight specifically in order to get people off his back about his tournament success.
All right, Blair, what do you think?
Look, it's he's 6. I think he's 6-2 in the Sweet 16, 2-0 in the national semifinals, 1-1 in the national championship game. It is that regional final that has gotten Bill Self, and it's not just at Kansas. He lost in his only trip at Tulsa and at Illinois as well. In fact, that was one of the first things he talked about. He brought it up in his post-game press conference in Louisville. So his overall NCAA tournament record is superb. He's one of the top 10 coaches all time in terms of winning percentage in NCAA tournament games. What's wrong with Bill Self, or why do Bill Self's teams struggle in the NCAAs? They tend to shoot poorly in these regional final games. I don't know why that happens. It happened against VCU. It happened against UCLA in 2007. It just happens, and it's a it's a crapshoot when it gets to a certain level on the bracket, a certain place on the bracket, and he's come up unlucky in a few of these games.
Saran, your theory?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think it's probably a lot of little things. That's generally how life works. But I think there's no doubt the second game, those quick turnaround games, he's not doing well. He'd gone out in the second round the last couple of years. That's the second game of the weekend. Those have been a problem. I think Kansas, I think Bill Self would probably say, okay, we need to take a look at what we do on these quick turnarounds. Are we getting enough scouting? Are we putting enough preparation into it? Is there something we can do differently? You know, look, 3 teams look a lot like Kansas in this Final Four. In Carolina, Oklahoma, and Villanova, they're all senior-laden teams. Syracuse is the one team that's relying on a couple of freshmen in Richardson and Leiden that are, you know, kind of the upstart thing, the one-and-done type players. They're on the fringe of maybe being one-and-dones. I think that's what this team is missing if he could have. We talked about the shot-making ability. He doesn't have those guys right now. I think he's got to find a way to get his freshmen playing at a higher level at the end of the year. I'd say better on the turnarounds and better with the young talent, because he's just not getting enough out of those guys early enough, the way a Kentucky is, the way a Syracuse is right now, the way some of the other teams that are getting things done and going on into the Final Four.
All right, it's baseball season. Here's our second hot topic of the evening. Are you confident in the Royals' rotation right now? What do you think, Blair?
I think so. I think it looks pretty similar to the rotations of the previous 2 years entering the season. There's no James Shields type definitive #1 guy, but I think that the way that Ned Yost has the rotation set up with Volquez going in the opener and then Kennedy and then Ventura, followed by Young and Medlin, I think that's pretty solid going into the season. Look, none of these guys have had stellar springs. If you look at spring stats, which you really shouldn't, none of them have pitched lights out. But I think they're all ready for spring training to end and to get the regular season going. I'm okay with what the Royals have put together. You know, the objective is 1,000 innings out of your starting rotation. I think they're going to get there. I think this is a starting rotation you can win with. All the Royals want is to get their starters to go 6, get it to the bullpen, and it's all good.
Saran?
I'm going to agree and disagree with Blair. I'm going to agree with him that I'm okay with it now as they leave spring training, and getting 6 out of this rotation is good enough for this team with the way they've built that bullpen. I think he's right about that, but I don't think they're going to get 1,000 innings. I'll disagree there. I think Chris Medlin and Chris Young are guys that are going to come up short on that, and I think, look, those were the depth guys last year. Now you're bumping those guys up. They were the backups, for lack of a better term, when they left spring training last year. Now they're bumped up and being the guys to be counted on, and generally speaking, it takes 6 to 8 starters to get through a major league season for playoff caliber teams. Who are the next 2 guys after them? Right now, they're okay. They're fine, especially with these early off days. But when we get to August, will there still be any bullets left in the gun of Chris Medlin, of Chris Young? And if not, who are they going to turn to? Is it going to be Kyle Zimmer? Is it going to be Mike Minor coming off rehab? I think the rotation is a question, and I think they leave spring training knowing that if they're in the hunt, they're probably going to have to go get a starter again this year at the deadline.
Oh, boy, they're going to need somebody to trade. Cody, what do you think?
I don't think it's as bad as Sarin makes it sound. I'm more close to the side of Blair. I think they're modeling it based off exactly how they did it last year. let's put together guys, except for this year, they've got Ian Kennedy, who should eat up more innings than they do. I think they maybe don't get to that 1,000 innings, but they should get close. And it's going to come from not just those 5 you're looking at now. It's not just Chris Medlin. It's not just Ian Kennedy. It's not just Yordano Ventura. It's going to be all the guys behind it, the Dylan G's, the Mike Miners, as Soren had mentioned earlier. Those guys are the ones they're counting on. Even if they needed to, they have guys like Danny Duffy, and I know Chin-Min Wong's kind of a long shot in that, but he was a starter, and Joe Blanton got starts for this team last year too. I think when you're looking at all the innings as a whole, they can do that. Couple that with bullpen depth too, I think I feel fine with the rotation going forward, at least to start the season.
And our final hot topic, how will Justin Houston's injury impact the Chiefs? Soren, this was a strange situation anyway because they took so long to get this done.
Well, I'm not going to go after the Chiefs again on my wrap-up here this week because I've had to go to that, beat that horse a couple of times already. It continues a baffling, stunning, goofy, sloppy offseason for the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, yeah, and by the way, our $100 million player had surgery 5 weeks ago. 6 to 12 months he's out. It's ridiculous what this offseason's been. Quietly, because they won a playoff game, nobody's getting fired up about it, and that's fine. But it affects them greatly. It's like losing a tooth off a tiger. I mean, they're going to have a hard time coming after it defensively. Look at what the New England Patriots did when Justin Houston wasn't around. They couldn't get to the quarterback. They couldn't stop the Pats. Dee Ford's got to step up and play big. I'm not saying it's a nail in the Chiefs' coffin, but it is a giant loss. There's a reason why they gave him $100 million. He shouldn't have been out on the field after the injury initially. He should be back before training camp. He won't be. The Chiefs, somewhere in the Chiefs organization, they screwed up big time.
Blair, you got about 30 seconds to wrap us up on this.
Well, I like the comments that I read in the Star this morning. Therese Paler wrote a story about Dee Ford, and Dee Ford said he wasn't satisfied with last year. I'm glad he feels that way because I don't think he should have been satisfied with last year. He had 4 sacks. 3 of those came in one game. Now, he was superb in that game against the Chargers, broke up a pass in the end zone at the end, but the Chiefs don't get enough out of Dee Ford, and if he's the guy they're counting on, to fill in while Justin Houston gets back healthy again, I don't. That's not a good situation for the Chiefs.
Yeah, it really isn't. I agree. Up next, we're going to get some final thoughts from the panel. It's their time to sound off on anything that's on their minds. You're watching Sunday Sound Off.